Good morning and welcome to our costume rendering day for Drawing for Theater 2. Today we're going to talk about layer masking, putting layers in folders, and creating some highlight and shadow with dodge and burn tools. I know some of this we've already talked about, but we're just going to talk about it again because with this next project it's going to be very helpful. What you can see here is a sample rendered costume. This is the original black and white line drawing by costume designer Marissa Moniz, and this is the final rendering for a project that was done using her line drawing. Okay, the line drawing that we will be using for our course is not this same one. It is a different one, which I'll be showing in a minute. But we're going to be talking about layer masking and how to lay in textures, add in some of these shadows to make it look three-dimensional, and how to make things look, a bit more realistic in terms of it being a human instead of just looking flat. The line drawing that you'll be working with is this hazmat suit line drawing, also designed by Marissa L. Moniz. Marissa created this as a part of her isolation work for COVID-19. She and I not necessarily worked together, but talked together about this piece, and there were some things that I edited out to make things easier for this project. If you go on Moodle, you can see a hazmat suit video. It's a short 3-second video showing the entire hazmat suit, and you'll be able to see which pieces I took out just to make things a little easier for everybody. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about layer masking. Okay, what layer masking is we can import a texture into this file, and then we can mask it, which means that we can select a specific area of the drawing and have the rest and have the texture show up just on that area. Okay. So I'm going to go to Google just real quick. Black and white flower line drawing. Let's take this one. We're going to save it to wherever you want. Go back to Photopea. And then I'm going to open up the flower line drawing. Okay. So I'm going to lasso around, actually, no, I'm not going to lasso anything. I'm going to select everything. And then I'm going to hit Command C on a Mac, Control C on a PC to copy it. If you're in Photoshop, you can just click and drag. With Photopea, you can't do that. You have to copy it. I'm going to go back to the hazmat suit line drawing. I'm going to hit Command V to paste it. I am going to free transform it just so I can increase its size. That size looks okay. I'm going to turn this layer 1 off. Name it flower texture. I'm going to turn it off for now because I want to be able to see the whole hazmat suit. Okay. I have this opened up as a PDF. Or I saved it as a PDF and opened as a PDF. What I want to do is I want to make a few selections. I'm going to select for some reason it's not letting me. Oh, there it is. I'm going to select pieces of the breastplate and torso. So those are the pieces I want to work with. Okay, so I'm now going to go over to flower texture, and I have the flower texture, the flower turned on. I have the layer selected. I'm going to go down here, and there is a button labeled Add Raster Mask. I click that. What that does is it creates a mask. Okay, this is the raster mask. This is the raster mask for the spaces that we selected. Okay, the entire image is still there. Okay, but what I've done is the raster mask it doesn't delete the rest of the texture, it just hides the rest of the texture. It masks it. Okay, so then all we're seeing is the selections in the breastplate. Okay, and you can do that with any texture. You know, we've done that in past videos. We did it where it's like we deleted everything around the texture. Everything that we didn't want, we just got rid of. Well, a mask makes it so you don't have to go through all of that work. You just have to select the stuff that you do want and then add the raster mask to the texture layer. Up next, we're going to talk about putting layers in folders. This should be, I guess you could say, old hat. Just going to create some random layers. If I select all 3 of these, I can go to Layer, New, Folder. Okay. I have this new new folder. Okay. I can put things in the folder by dragging it on top of the folder. You'll notice that the layers are offset a little bit by this drop-down arrow. That's how you know that the layers are inside the folder. In Photoshop, they are called groups. Okay, there's a button down here in the lower right that is titled New Folder. You can also create the folder there. You can rename the folder. Oops. You can expand it if you'd like. You can close it so all you see is this. You can turn the entire folder on and off. If you go to turn a folder on, all of the layers have to be turned on individually for them to turn on. If I had layers 2 and 3 turned off, and I just saw this, and the folder was turned off, and then I went to turn it back on, the only layer that would turn on is layer 1. Okay. Folders come in handy when you're dealing with numerous layers for an object. For example, if I went back to the sample costume rendering, okay, I had a group for the top part of the outfit for the blouse. I had a group for the dress. I had a group for the sash. I had a group for the shoes, a group for the purse, a group for the skin and hair, and then a group for all of the accessories. It makes everything very easy to turn on and off, and to see where you're at with a drawing. Because sometimes having, a rendered or colored object in place can be a little distracting. And so being able to turn them on and off easily makes things convenient. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to delete that folder. Oh, wrong button. Up next, we are going to talk about creating highlight and shadow with the dodge and burn tools. Now, we talked about this in the last video with talking about shadows using the brush tool. Using the dodge and burn tool here is really helpful because we're working with with textures and colors. Okay, so I'm going to select parts of the mask. And I create a new layer. Use the paint bucket tool, and I'm just going to select some colors. Okay. Now, for those of you using Photoshop, you're going to have a bit of an easier time with this and selecting everything and making it look good. The pixel selection, usually with Photoshop, you see all this white line here. That all has to deal with your tolerance, but Photoshop is also a bit more accurate, I've noticed. Not saying Photopea is bad by any means. Photopea is absolutely wonderful. Okay. Mask is kind of starting to look like, I don't know, like a mix between Spider-Gwen and Spider-Man. It's funny. Okay, so as I said in the last video, with dodge and burn, you have to be working in the layer that you have the colors or textures or whatever selected. You can't work, like if I want to dodge or burn these colors, I can't be in another layer, okay? So I'm gonna go over to my tools. I have the dodge tool and the burn tool. Burn tool is for shadows, dodge tool is for highlights. I'm gonna start with my midtones. I'm gonna bump the pixel of the brush up to 50, and I'm gonna lower the hardness down to 0, okay? Let's see, bump the exposure up to 100 for now, just to see what it looks like. It's not wanting to show up. Oh, there we go. Okay, I had it set to the wrong thing. So shadows, midtones, highlights. For what I'm working on, I want to have it set to highlights. Okay. You don't have to use dodge and burn with this. Okay. I'm just using it because it's a very quick way to add some highlights and shadows. Okay. For your project, you need to select where your light source is coming from. Okay. And what I also select is, as you can see, you can kind of see I have an outline. I did a command, it's command for Mac, control for PC. Command click on this little image right here for layer 1. And what it is selected everything in the layer. So this way I'm only affecting the colored parts, okay? I'm not having to worry about accidentally putting shadows in the background. And this is where, so you're selecting a light source, okay, first and foremost. And then you have to put shadows and highlights where you think they make sense. Okay, we have a little right here. And you're also going to want to play with adjusting your dodge and burn tool as far as figuring out what, highlight, mid-tone, shadow, and what percentage you want to work with. Okay, right now I'm just working with 50. Okay, so I've gone ahead and added a shadow. Let's see with the burn tool, let's see what dodge does. Go to highlights, keep it at 50% exposure. For the brush size, decrease the hardness to 0. Increase the size to 50 just to make it a bit easier to work with. Okay, so we see that highlight didn't do much. Let's check midtones. Midtones also didn't do much. Let's see if shadows is going to be what works. There we go. Shadow does a little bit more. Go ahead, throw in some highlights. And what you can do is if you feel like a highlight isn't punchy enough, go ahead, release your mouse button, and then go back and click again and do another swipe. You can go ahead and you can add more highlight to it if you want the lighting to look a little bit more intense. I'm just doing this kind of quick. Let's see, I'm going to deselect everything. I'll zoom out just a little bit. And you can see that I added a highlight and shadow. Obviously, the coloring and all of this was done relatively quickly, so some of it I might soften out. I might soften out some of the edges with the blur tool. I might use a lower percentage on the burn tool so that the shadow line doesn't look as harsh. But by adding these small bits of highlight and shadow, it really helps the drawing to look more three-dimensional, which is what we are going for. That is it for today's video. This costume rendering is going to be a combination of the tools and functions that you learned with scenic rendering video and the tools and functions that we used in this video today. If there are any questions, please feel free to contact me. This assignment is due next week, Monday. Wednesday is going to be a work day. I will have a Zoom meeting open for everybody to join if they have questions. If not, if no one joins, that's totally fine. I will still be available. The rubric I went ahead and updated in Moodle because I was given this new line drawing for us to work with, and I realized that the rubric didn't appropriately reflect that. So I went ahead and changed it a little bit to fit this drawing, and I think it actually makes it a little bit easier. Okay. If there are any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me, and I hope that you all have a marvelous day.